AM 1510, WMEL. The views expressed on the following program are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and are not necessarily those of WMEL staff, management, or advertisers.
The radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard.org. Our purpose is to educate, inform, and connect seniors and those that care for seniors to resources that can help them, most often just in performing the activities of daily living. There's just so much to know about how to care for seniors, where to go to get the kind of help and care that you need. And we have a phone number that you can call, and this is the number. So I really highly recommend that you write it down. It's 473, of course, area code 321-473-7770. And that puts you in touch with Kay Kaiser, and Kay is our information specialist, and she's our first one. We hope someday to have another one, two, or three, but that's in the future. So, Kay, I know you're listening, and if you have a question or if you want to say anything to Jennifer and I on the radio this morning or this afternoon, give us a call. But folks, some of our sponsors include Kindred at Home, the Eye Institute, Dr. Lee Sheldon, Bill Johnson, elder law attorney, this radio station, WMEL AM 1510, Wistoff Hospital Systems, Love and Home Cares on Beachside, Ebony News Today, Riverview Senior Resort, Organized Creative Solutions, and Brevard Chiropractic and Neurogen Center of Rockledge, Cobblestone Real Estate, and Marcus Street Memory Care. I got a whole bunch that I'll mention on the second part of the show, but if I mention them all the first part of the show, I might run the danger of putting you to sleep, and I don't want to do that. I want to keep you awake just like I want to keep Jennifer awake in the studio with me this afternoon, because my panelist today is Jennifer Helin. Jennifer is the owner of Seniors Helping Seniors, and I remember the day, Jennifer, that you started the company, and I remember our talk, and it's extremely pleasing to me to watch, to see how much you all have progressed with your program, with your business since you started it. I know this wasn't even on our sheet to talk about today, but how do you feel after several years of managing seniors, helping seniors, and some of the stuff that you've been able to do to help people? How does Jennifer Helin feel about that?
You know, I love it. I love it. I have absolutely no regrets of starting the business. I really couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Well, you know, Jennifer, I think back in the 16 years I've been doing the radio show, and I think about some of the phone calls that we received and people that were bamboozled by assisted living facilities, nursing homes, caregivers, simply took advantage of other people, and that just really was something it was hard for me to stomach that people that are in a caregiving situation already have their hands full, and if they can't go to people that they can trust and at least have an expectation that they're going to try and help them, it makes it so difficult. How have you seen a lot of that in the time that you've been in this business?
Unfortunately, yes. And that's one of the reasons I love what we do, because I know I'm putting someone safe in someone's home. I know that they're going to treat them with the utmost respect and kindness. I know that we have nothing to worry about. But unfortunately, we do see it. You know, we've got several clients, because of prior things happening, they have cameras in their home. Do you mind us having a camera? Absolutely not. You know, I encourage it. But they have video cameras going at all times, kind of like a nanny cam, because they want to know what the caregiver is doing. And it's because of a prior incident where somebody has overstepped their bounds, taken things that didn't belong to them. And it's sad that people nowadays have to do that, to go to that length of having an internet camera going in the house.
I remember years ago when we first started the radio show, and when we were over on Turtle Mountain Road and over with WMEL here, and I had two I had two ladies on a radio show, and both of them were experienced with nursing home care, assisted living care, caregiving, care management, the whole ball of wax. They knew all about it. And I asked them both a question about if you saw a situation where a person needed to be turned in, what would you do? And without any hesitation at all, both those young women said, we would call and report them. Because if an organization or a person is willing to take advantage of somebody in any caregiving situation at one point, they're going to do it again. And this, people that are in the caregiving situation and caregiver and the person being cared for themselves, they're both in such a delicate situation where they can be taken advantage of so easily.
The problem is, though, as we see it, that many times when it's an in-home caregiver, the family or the senior that was being cared for don't prosecute. Maybe the senior has some dementia, so they don't want to put them through having the police in, going through the investigation and being put on the stand. Not that they're always put on the stand, but many families don't want to go through that. They just want to go beyond it and, close that door and not look back. They're embarrassed. Maybe the seniors just love that caregiver and they just can't believe that caregiver took advantage of them. So these people aren't ever prosecuted. And so they do go on and they do take advantage of a next senior and the next senior. And so unfortunately, you could pull a background check and never know that person has a prior history.
I'm glad you brought that up because in my working with seniors, 2 years while I was still on active duty in the Navy, and then 27 years here now in Brevard County, I think I have about as good an understanding or experience with working with this type of people where you and I are talking about as anybody else in this business. And it's really been my experience that the people that have dementia or are in these care receiver situations, they are a lot tougher and a lot more resilient than we give them credit for. I think that we say we want to make it sound like they're too frail, like we shouldn't hurt them by putting them through some of these things. I've watched this in so many instances. Every time it's happened, I've seen that person bounce back. Maybe it was the fact that they realized that somebody was taking advantage of them and they really wanted to do something about it, but their caregiver, the person caring for them, thought they couldn't handle that situation. But I really think that because and in all my experience with these people, I watched children in children's caregiver groups. Those little kids are a lot more understanding of what's happened to their grandmothers and grandfathers than we give them credit for.
And I do encourage people to go ahead and prosecute, to make a report, because even if the person isn't prosecuted, that report does go into their file. And so, repetition, there are cases all the time where, the police they know that this person is taking advantage, and it's the second or third or fourth time, and they want to prosecute. They want to get that person and get them out of seniors' homes. So I really do encourage people to get involved and to go ahead and make the report. It may be difficult for the senior, but it really is for the best because they are going to do it again. And
then when I asked Jennifer about what she wanted to talk about, folks, she said, let's just talk about caregiving and the holiday season coming up and why it's so important that some of the things we'll say today are something that caregivers really should think twice about and is something we can't ignore. And I think it's really important that we think about our taking care of our people, not just at the holiday season, Jennifer, but year round. And sometimes I think we don't give, I guess maybe the urgency of the need to be on our toes all the time when we're taking care of somebody. And that's why I think it's so important for organizations like yours and some of the other wonderful ones we do have here in Brevard County, because there are good and there are some organizations that are not so good. And you know that too. But it's been my experience also that the majority of caregiver situations that turn out to be bad most often are within the family. And that's another bitter pill to swallow. And that's another reason why people have to be on their toes, especially when we get into the Thanksgiving season, then we approach Christmas, and then we get started in the new year, because there's a 2-month period here where people think things are going to work out, but they don't always work out the way we want them to work out, do they?
No, unfortunately. And, a lot of times the family is the only caregiver, and they're stressed. And that's why I wanted to talk about the holidays, because, we start out with Thanksgiving and we think about lots of family and a big dinner, and then we get into the Christmas season and, we're thinking of parties, and it's the happiest time of the year. But for a lot of families with, that are in that caregiving role, it's just added stress. It's more stress on top of the stress that they already have on a day-to-day basis. So it turns out, to be a blue Christmas instead of a happy time. So acknowledging that, and how do people get through that? What can you do for the caregiver? What can you do for the senior that they're caring for? How do you get through that time?
What are some of the things that caregivers should be thinking about during the holiday season?
They really need to think about caring for themselves, getting to their doctor's appointment, taking time out for themselves, and really adjusting their expectations of what the holidays should be. Just because you've always hosted Thanksgiving doesn't mean that you have to host Thanksgiving. It's okay to let somebody else host. Or it's okay to have everybody in your home, but tell them, you all have to bring, I'll do the turkey, but you have to bring the rest. It's okay to ask for help or to modify what you've done in order to be able to get through that holiday successfully and happily.
I know that many of the old school type people will start thinking about holiday seasons a month, 2 months at a time. They'll start worrying about what they're going to have, what they're going to do, how they're going to take care of everything, how they're going to make everybody happy, and they worry about shopping, and then it places more stress on them.
Exactly.
And that's, sometimes we fail to realize that if a family member is not made to feel needed, then they quite often are not going to be needed. Everybody has to be needed, and I think sometimes grandchildren, a lot of times we want to do so much for our grandchildren, but sometimes the grandchildren want to do things for their grandparents, and we need to let them do that.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, and that's one of my other tips. When you're in the caregiving role, a lot of times people, let me help you with that. Let me take care of that. And the caregiver kind of takes over that senior's whole world. And they're still very capable. They can do things. They can set the table. They can wash dishes. They can do a lot of things that will really be helpful. And it makes them feel like they're a part of things. They makes them feel useful. So, accepting that help, and maybe it takes a half an hour longer to do the dishes. Who cares? The dishes are done and they feel great about themselves because they were able to help, and you didn't have to do it. So it's a good thing. We take over too much sometimes.
And depending on their state, you might want to put some of your old dishes in there for them to wash, not the good ones.
Well, maybe not Grandma's fine china, but...
No, I'm serious. I remember, Jennifer, when we first opened up the All Summer Center over there on Wickham Road, I had a woman come in to see me, and she said, what did you tell my father? I said, what do you mean, what did I tell your father? She said, he came home from the daycare and he wanted a broom. And I said, well, and I said, well, what's wrong with that? She said, well, he wanted a broom because he wanted to go outside and sweep the walk. She said, he never did that in his life. And I said, well, maybe he saw somebody else doing something in the daycare that might have triggered something that said to him, I want to be part of it. So give him the broom. So she did. And to my knowledge, the guy went on sweeping the walks every weekend. He would sweep the walks all the way around our house, put all the stuff away. It was just a project that he thought he wanted to do. But having said that, you have to be very careful when you deal with people with dementia, because sometimes we think that they can accept change a lot easier than they really can. What you described about washing dishes or being part of the family gathering, that's one thing. But to take the people that have dementia out of their friendly environment and place them someplace else, like, for instance, say we're going to spend Christmas or a holiday or Thanksgiving with somebody else, and we uproot them, and we can cause more harm to their ability to adapt if we're not careful in how we do it.
Absolutely, and that's another thing to think about is a lot of families travel over the holidays, and should you travel or should you stay home? And if you travel, how can you best approach that so that you are successful? Giving yourself lots of time to travel, giving yourself, giving the family warnings about what would be helpful, letting them know where the person is in their dementia so that they know what to expect, what to say, what not to say. Creating a successful environment. Some folks with dementia travel very well, some don't. So knowing your loved one and what they can handle and what they can't, where they can go, where they can't, and being okay with that. Some folks travel well, great. Be prepared, pack everything in advance, kind of walk through that whole process beforehand so and are prepared for any emergencies or any stressful things that might come up. But being okay with it, you know what? It's time for the kids to come see us.
But you also bring up the other side of the coin there, Jennifer, is that quite often the caregiver is reluctant to extend themselves because taking the care receiver out of a very familiar environment sometimes is more difficult. And while it might be upsetting for a short period of time, if handled correctly, it can turn out to be a very rewarding and enriching experience for the person that has dementia. I've seen that happen so many times. I think so many times we undersell the importance of understanding the person that we're caring for. And as a result of that, then the person that's doing the caregiving causes more of a problem for themselves because they think that the person they're caring for cannot adapt to a situation when in fact they can.
Right. Everyone with dementia is different. There is no one set pattern. There's no mold. Dementia is different for everyone. There are, definitely guidelines or there is a progression, but everyone is a little bit different, and what one person can do or can handle may be completely different for another person.
Exactly right. Yeah, but I think it's so important at the holiday season that more of us should be willing to take a chance and to try something different and not just fall into a pattern of saying, this is the way it is, this is the way it was, and this is the way it's always going to be. And I've seen caregivers that do that. And I think that's harmful. It's harmful to them, and it's harmful to that person they're caring for because one of the hardest things to do with a person that has dementia is to recognize when they really might be happy with a change. it's just a catch-22 situation, and it's one that if you're careful about how you do it, and if you are willing to take a small chance, take small leaps, don't take a huge leap and just take somebody and put them in an entirely different environment, that's not a smart thing to do at all. But some of the old tricks that I think that caregivers really need to know is this, if the caregiver themselves are calm, and I think that you expressed this in a show we did one time talking about the people you hire. If you didn't believe that those people could maintain their cool, you wouldn't be hiring them.
Right. That is so important. It is so important. If you have control over yourself and you're calm, then you can have the presence of mind to direct traffic appropriately. And that is one of the most difficult things to do, especially, I think, for family caregivers. And having been a family caregiver, I feel comfortable saying that. When you're dealing with someone else and it's not your dad or not your mom, you can kind of take a step back and look at things a little bit more objectively. But when that's your mom and she's doing something or saying something that you don't think is right, it's much easier to respond emotionally. And it's so important because they sense your stress. So it's so important to be calm and to handle things in the most appropriate way.
Okay, on the next part of the show, after we come back after the break, folks, what I want to talk a little bit about things that you might be able to do both for your caregivers and things you can do for the care receiver during the holiday season. And maybe Jennifer will have maybe she'll think of a couple of stories that we can fill you in on the second side of the story. But stay with us. We've got a couple of interesting things to bring up.
AM 1510, WMEL. It's the Talk to Me Network on AM 1510, FM 99.9, 94.7, and 100.7.
This is Joe Steckler, folks. We're back live with the second half of Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard.org. Our organization is designed to help inform, educate, and connect seniors and those that care for seniors to the resources they need to age with dignity and, in many cases, simply to live. For instance, maybe you don't know there's an organization that can bring a meal on wheels to your home. And maybe you don't know there's somebody who can help you build a ramp to go into take care of getting in and out of your house. Maybe there's a lot of things that you don't know. We find out a lot of people that don't know a thing. Call Kay at 321-7730. I gave the wrong number. The phone number for Kay is 321-473-7770. I think you might be surprised to find out just what Kay is capable of giving you. In fact, I'm getting a message on my screen. Kay is on the phone, but I'm not going to let her talk for right now. I'm going to make her away from it. Well, I'll tell you who our sponsors are for the second half of the show, and then I'm going to tell you about the Jaguar, and then, Kay, I'll bring you on. So don't go away. Our sponsors for the second half of the show include Senior Scene Magazine, Hometown News, Spotlight Magazine, Seniors Helping Seniors, that's our panelists today, Courtney and Braswell Financial Group, Barbara McIntyre Home Equity, Canadian Medications, Ear Care, Vitas Hospice, Aldea Today, In-Home Personal Services, and Veterans Realty of Brevard. Folks, we're at a car we're raffling off. It's a Jaguar. It's a 1992. It's got 38,000 original miles. And we had it at a local church this weekend, and the church was kind enough to let me speak at all 6 masses. And we sold over $7,000 worth of tickets to the people. And one of the reasons I think that they bought the tickets was because they heard me tell them what it is that our organization does, and the fact that in the last 2 years, Kay's helped over 1,500 families, some of them multiple times, at no cost to the family, is just really a significant thing. And that's so important when you get into the business of caregiving. So we're going to raffle the car off on 3 December, and if you want tickets, they're $25 donation for one, or 5 tickets you can get $100. For $100 you get 5 tickets. Call Kay at 473-7770, and she can take your order right over the phone.
It's a really pretty car.
Who said that?
I did.
I got to drive it. I know that was Keiko. I didn't even say you said it. That was Jennifer, folks. She said it's a really pretty car. She's driven it. I've driven it, and it is a pretty car. So, Kay, what do you want to say?
I just wanted to. I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Yeah, I'm trying not to hear you, but I can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm only kidding. You know that.
I know you are. But I just wanted to just share with the listening audience today that because my job is the information specialist, occasionally I'll get a call from a senior who's very lonely. And I know in the first part of the show you were talking about the holidays and so forth.
Right.
But this is what I do. I'll take the time to speak with that caller. Sometimes they just want somebody to talk to. Bottom line, they may not have a family nearby or relatives, and they're all alone, thinking, well, I'm just going to call Helping Seniors of Brevard, and they're so glad they have. But I think the bottom line, too, is if our listening audience knows of a senior during the holidays that's all alone, doesn't have anyone there to really speak to, take a moment, pick up the phone, and call them. Just call them. Do that good deed or maybe go visit them, because it will make all the difference in their lives. I know when callers call me that are very lonely, they'll start out very, very sad, but at the end of the conversation they'll say, thank you for just taking the time to listen to me. And it's so important, especially during the holidays, because so many of the seniors are rather depressed, they're alone. So I just want to put a shout out there to the listening audience. Take a moment, pick up the phone, or go check on that senior.
Well, it's important, Kay, because so many people don't think about the fact that just a friendly word can mean an awful lot to somebody. And I think that's what Jennifer was talking about on the first part of the show, that, if people know that you care a little bit, it just makes so much difference. And being able to get through difficult situations and getting through the holiday season when you are single, or if your spouse, one of the partners has passed away, it's very difficult. It's a lonely time.
Absolutely. So it's really important to just take that special moment. And oftentimes when a caller calls, Helping Seniors of Brevard, they'll call about a specific thing, but when we start the conversation, more times than not, I'll discover that they need additional resources. So it's just about just not giving a quick number and goodbye. It's about having the compassion, taking the time to speak to those seniors and find out how we can certainly help improve their lifestyle and age with dignity.
Okay, listen, you just be alert for all those people calling for the Jaguar tickets, okay?
Okay, I sure will. It is a beautiful car. It definitely is a beautiful car. We tried to really promote yesterday. But it certainly is, as I tell a senior, too, if they're no longer driving, for goodness sakes, turn around and give it to one of your relatives, or you certainly can turn around and sell it and put a few $1,000s in your pocket. So it's a win-win for everyone involved, especially for Helping Seniors of Brevard as a nonprofit.
Thank you, Kay.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye. Okay, Jennifer, let's back here. We got our commercial out of the way, but it is important, folks. We have to raise all the money that we spend on in taking care of providing these programs and doing our newsletter and Senior Scene magazine. All these things cost a little bit, so whatever you want to do to help is greatly appreciated. I think I want to break the ice on the second part of the show, because Jennifer told something during the break that I thought it is kind of appropriate. And we always like to have a human interest story. And Jennifer, go ahead, please tell that story.
I have lots of stories, but what we were talking about was, when you are traveling or if you're having family in for the holidays, it's always a good thing to communicate with them beforehand to let them know where your person is, especially if they have dementia. Kind of where are they with their dementia? What should they say? What should they not say? So that they have an idea of what they're walking into, and it makes them much more comfortable, and it makes the person with dementia much more comfortable. This summer, my family was involved in a get-together back from where we're originally from in upstate New York. And everybody was warned. One of the gentlemen now has dementia, and he's progressing in his dementia. And we were warned, especially us ladies, not to wear stripes. Because where he is in his dementia, if you're wearing stripes, you've been convicted of something. And he will follow you around, and he will talk to you, and he will want to know why you were convicted and what you did. And it's just one of those kind of silly things that it is what it is. That is just where he is right now. So they said, just to kind of save yourself and save him from getting agitated, please just don't wear stripes. And it's kind of a silly thing, but you know what? It's a good thing for us to know ahead of time, because none of us wore stripes. You know, he didn't have to worry about that. He wasn't agitated. His wife, his primary caregiver, didn't have to worry about him following someone around and her having to try to distract him. So it's something really, really simple.
I like the one about the color, though.
I was trying to behave myself.
I know. Tell the one about the color. I like that one. I want to hear how you're going to tell it.
Oh, thanks. He's putting me on the hot seat. The same gentleman, you also, especially as a lady, didn't wear red. Because if you wore red, in his mind, you were in the red light district. Yeah. How about that? I'm trying to say that politely. He thought you were a woman of the evening if you wore red. And so he would hound you about that, too. So none of the we didn't wear red either.
Well, you know, I have one story I haven't told this one for years. I had a woman that was a caregiver for our mother. And it was when we, shortly after we'd opened up the Alzheimer's Dementia Center over on Wickham Road, and she came in to see me one day, and she said, I really have a problem with my mother, Joe. I said, what's the problem? She said, I can't get away from her. She said, she follows me every place I go. And she says, I can't even take a shower. She wants to get in a shower with me. And I suggested to her, I said, hey, you might get a picture and put a picture in the room and see what she does. She says, no, that's an idea. And she came back a couple of weeks later, and she says, you know, you told me about that picture, and it really worked. I said, what did you do? She said, well, what I did when I got ready to take a shower, she said, I had this picture of a naked man, and I just took the picture and unrolled it and then pinned it on the wall. And she said, my mother sat in a chair and sat there the whole time, and while I took my shower and just looked at the picture, she says, she was perfectly happy. And I said, I wouldn't. That was one I had not heard before, but I said, you know, whatever works. And it's really important. You know, but this is life. It's just like one of the things we wanted to talk about today was, what kind of gifts do you get for a dementia person? What do you give a dementia person at a holiday season? What are some of the things that you've thought of, Jennifer?
Well, and it's a tough one. And we went through that with our own family of, you know, and Aunt Peaches only has so many bottles of perfume or slippers, or what do you get that would really be useful and helpful? And there are some pretty neat things out there. With someone with dementia, there are a lot of adaptive things like clocks. And the clock has either the sunshine, it's got a picture of the sun, or it's got a picture of the moon and stars. So they know when they get up at night, is it morning or is it still nighttime? And that picture cue helps them to realize, oh, it's 3 o'clock at night, not 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I should go back to bed now. And that will also help the caregiver as well, because they won't be waking them up because they're wandering around the house. Right. They have phones. Some of the phones are amazing. You know, if you're hard of hearing, the phone will really enunciate, and the volume will go up so that they can understand when a family member is calling them long distance. They also have phones that you can put pictures on. So the speed dial is a picture of your daughter. You just press the picture of your daughter and it calls her, which is, you know, it's amazing. There's some wonderful technologies out there that really take something very simple like making a phone call and calling a family member, and it makes it so accessible for them. We used to get, now my mother-in-law was the primary caregiver of my husband's grandmother. We used to get her, when she would still go out to lunch a lot, we would get her gift cards so that she could take her out to lunch. So it was something kind of for both of them, but it just helped a little bit because she loved to go to lunch. And every time she went, it was like a brand new experience. So it was so much fun to take her to lunch. She went out really well for a long time. So that's what we would do, is we would give them gift certificates so that they wouldn't, she didn't have to worry about the expense of taking her. They could go out and they could enjoy some time together.
If somebody
adult
gave me a
coloring
gift
books.
card for bananas, I'd be happy.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Adult coloring books are all the rage right now, and they're great because it's not a little kid coloring book, it's an adult coloring book, and they have so many different varieties. They have one for every interest. I just saw one at Publix last night in the checkout line where it was gift cards that you would color in and then put on the presents, designating who gets what. This to mom, love, dad. What a great way to get them. Hey, could you color these for me? That would be so helpful. I want to use these, and that would make those tags so personal. That would be a great way to get somebody involved in the holidays. And they have ones that are specific for men versus ladies. It's large print books, large print crossword puzzles, or word searches, puzzles that are relevant to that person. If it's a lady who's loved flowers, a puzzle for flowers, but they have puzzles of cars and boats and different things. So making it reflect their interests.
It's what it does. It sort of turns a button on an earlier memory. I remember years ago there was a very famous artist named Pascal Cuccaro, and he painted in San Francisco, Tokyo, and Philadelphia, and Spain also, and France. But he was a prolific painter. He painted on anything he could get his hands on: glass, boards, canvas, you name it. And he would do sometimes 10, 12, 15 paintings a day. He was capable of doing that. And he developed Alzheimer's. And I met his brother, helped me start the first art auction we had here for the Alzheimer's program, and he donated a whole bunch of his brother's original artworks to help us start the program, and which was very, very generous. But I asked Tom, I said, what do you think Pascal remembers about his paintings? He said, I don't know. So, they won't let him have oils or anything like that anymore because he had so much oil and stuff in his system from all his work that he did. But what he did was they gave him some crayons and some watercolors. And he painted 12 pieces, roughly 12 by 14, 12 by 18. But he painted those in watercolor and in crayon. But we went back and we looked in a book they had put together of his paintings, and you could see where at 86 he was recalling what he did when he was 26. And in the book, in one of his color books, a book of his art that they gave to me, he did a watercolor for me, and he said to Joe, and I never met the man, but he signed it, and he did a watercolor of people on a boat. And I have that at home in my office. I treasure that because I thought it was something that was extremely, it showed that we never should give up on people. There's always something that somebody can contribute or something they can do. I sold some of those paintings of his for as much as $500.
Oh, I believe it.
Well, what are some of the things that you could give to a caregiver?
Well, I'll combine this with going back to the person with dementia. And it doesn't have to be someone with dementia. It could be, just someone who is getting older. Taking the time out to get the pictures, all of those old pictures that everybody has lying around, and turning it into a scrapbook or a picture book of their lifetime and their memory. That is such a huge gift. That is such a beautiful, beautiful present for someone. The caregiver doesn't have time to do it. But if somebody in the family or a friend took those and said, I'll take very good care of them, put them into a book, and gave that is a wonderful thing. When, especially with someone with dementia, they love to look back at all of those old memories. And sometimes when that person gets a little agitated, that is a great way to kind of get them distracted and get them thinking about other things. So it's a dual gift. It's good for the person, and it's also good for their caregiver, because that person will get lost in those memories and forget that they were upset that, dinner's not ready yet. So that is a great gift for both sides.
We're almost out of time, but I would like for you to, since you are in the business of working with seniors, that's what you do. I would like for just a couple of minutes talk about discussing situations with family members, the importance of the family themselves being involved in the decision making about caregiving, care receiving, and what happens to the patient. Can you help our listening audience understand a little bit of the importance for their involvement?
It really is important. And sometimes as the kids, it's hard to have those conversations with mom and dad because they've been in control their whole lives. And sometimes the mom and dads are the ones who have been in control over their lives, and they don't want to give up any control. But it's so important to have that conversation. That's a big soapbox issue for me. We plan our retirements, but we don't plan what 80 is going to look like or what 90 is going to look like. And I would much rather have my parents decide for themselves, with knowing all of the resources, what that is going to look like, than for me to say, well, I think this is what mom and dad would want. Or in some cases, the kids are in California or New York or Ohio, having the state decide what that's going to look like for them, taking that decision away because they've got dementia and no longer have capacity. So I think it's very important that we all have that conversation, that we talk about it, because you can have a plan. I
think it's extremely important. I was something else I wanted to ask you about this. I got to slip my mind too. I guess so in ghosts sometimes. And listening to what Jennifer was talking about, I forget what I wanted to talk about.
Can I give you a shout out to Senior Santa?
No, what I want to do is, wait a minute, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You told me no.
What it was, I want people to tell you your phone number so you can. That's what it was. What is your phone number? So if somebody wants to call you, they can do it. Then you can talk about Triad.
Okay. Seniors Helping Seniors. Our phone number is 321-722. 2999. We are on the web, seniorshelpingseniors.com/Brevard, and we're on Facebook, Seniors Helping Seniors of Brevard. So, look us up, give us a call if we can help at all. We always try to. If we can't help, then we refer out. We try to tell people, oh, no, we can't do that. So we refer people to Helping Seniors of Brevard County, 2K, all the time, so that we're confident that they're going to get the help that they need one way or another.
We're out of time, but what Jennifer was going to talk about Triad. So you can call Kay at 473-7770, or you can call Jennifer number and find out about Triad. So at least that's...
Yeah, give us a call about Triad, adopting a senior for Christmas, getting them a present.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for listeners.